Do you find yourself feeling numbed out, disconnected from the world, sometimes being around other people, but kind of feeling like you're not really there? The words are going in, but you're not actually present. This is what we call a freeze response, and you will absolutely want to listen to this episode because I'm going to show you a technique that's going to help you shift out of freeze so you can start reconnecting with the world again. Hi, massive welcome to Trauma and Narcissism Redefined. My name is Caroline Strawson, and it's absolutely my pleasure to be here with you talking all things nervous system, all things trauma healing to help you heal and thrive. Because let's face it, life can be tough and it's a roller coaster sometimes. You sometimes feel like you're on this roller coaster going, ooh, no hands. It can be really challenging. And one of the key elements I want to bring you with this podcast are tools and tips and inspiration, get my teeth back in, hope, all of those wonderful things to help you start to move on. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that I didn't really understand and didn't even know existed. And it was only when I started to do my own healing when I came out of my marriage, which was with a covert narcissist, that I started to realize that probably for decades of my life, I had been living in what we call a freeze response. I was totally dissociated from my world. It looked like I was present. I'd go out the front door and have a smile on my face, and people would say, "Hey Caroline, how are you?" And I'd be the obligatory, "Hey, I'm fine, how are you?" with a great big smile. Not actually realizing until I started to do my nervous system healing that I was living in a world of what we call functional freeze. So functional freeze is where it looks like we are functioning. It looks like we're going about and doing our daily business. You know, for me, that would be getting the kids ready for school, pack lunches, taking them there, housework, the little bit of podiatry that I was doing at the time as well, running a clinic. But ultimately, I was really disconnected. Now, what freeze actually is a nervous system response to your perception of danger. Now, freeze responses, if we think about it from an animal perspective or even a human perspective, let's say if we were being attacked or we were having maybe a near-death experience, we would automatically go into a freeze response. Everything goes about looking out for our major organs when we are in a freeze response. That's why we will often feel exhausted when we're in a freeze response, because all the energy is basically survival. It's keeping us alive. Now, that's all well and good if we're being attacked or we are in these kind of near-death experiences. But what if we're not? You know, many people like myself are living in these freeze responses, feeling totally dissociated, yet we're not in actual danger. It's all our interpretation and our perception, which usually comes back to beliefs and feelings that we have about ourselves. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm worthless. And because we are so numbed out to not feeling the pain of other people making us feel like that, we disconnect from our own bodies. So it's almost like we're walking around with a little head. And the freeze response when we are in that doesn't mean we still don't go about our business, but it feels heavy. You know, I know for me when I was stuck in that freeze response for decades, getting out of bed sometimes felt like I was climbing Mount Everest. And I just thought, what's wrong with me? Stop being lazy. Come on, get on with it. But actually, I was in a freeze response within my nervous system. My whole nervous system was in protect mode for me. And it was only really being in my abusive relationship in my marriage that I really started to realize that when I came out. And then as I realized I'd been like that in my marriage, I also started to look back even further and realized I'd spent decades living in freeze, looking like this ambitious, independent young woman, but actually totally dissociated and disconnected from the feelings in my body because I was on high alert all of the time, thinking people might think badly of me, say something badly about me. I needed everyone to like me. I needed to please everybody because the alternative was too much to bear. That became my version of danger, my version of someone attacking me. So I lived in this perpetual freeze response, disconnected, with moments of explosions of anger. But then I'd feel really guilty and think, my goodness, what would people think of me? And then I'd suppress it back down. Now, if you think of our nervous system like a hierarchy, because it is, think of it like the traffic lights. I name this the traffic lights of tolerance. So it's really like a modern day version of the window of tolerance, but looking at our nervous system as a hierarchy, which is what Stephen Porges found it was. So the green light is when we feel safe and connected and we're kind of in the driving seat of our life. We can be very present, we feel very safe. Then the moment we start to perceive threat and danger, we might shift into our yellow light, our fight-flight response in our body, our sympathetic nervous system. This is when we flood our body with more cortisol. So this is where we then feel quite tingly. We have an increased heart rate because we have more energy in case we need to fight or we need to run away. Or in human behavior, it might mean we're more anxious. So we have more of a faster heart rate because we want to look out for ourselves in anticipation of danger, or it might mean we're really, really angry. But if we still perceive threat and danger, what will happen is our natural biological survival response is to go into a freeze response. This is when we go into that red light. It's like stop, shut down, stay safe, literally as you are, no energy, keep those major organs going, because literally as human beings, we're built for survival. If we want to be happy, wealthy, successful, we have to be intentional with that. But overarching all of that, our body is working purely for survival. So it's really important that if we are stuck in a freeze response, that actually we're not lazy, we're not stupid, we're not doing anything wrong. We're in a natural survival biological response in our body, but it's our responsibility to then get curious about, well, why are we if we know we're not in any danger? So there's a lot of things that underpin. Usually it will be beliefs about yourself at the core of that and not wanting other people. It's often very much relational when we're stuck in freeze responses in our everyday life. Very often it's how we feel about ourselves, which is our core wound, and then anything or anyone that might remind us of that, we stay in a freeze response. And we do that because we're so used to feeling worthless, not enough, not important, unlovable, that we stay in that freeze response to not feel, because it keeps us safe. It's less painful not to feel anything, even though with this little head and we're kind of saying all the right things, but we feel nothing. We're numbed out. So a really good breathing technique to help you start to shift out of a freeze responses. If we're in that red light and we're numbed out and we're only having energy really to our major organs, think of it the hierarchy. We need to start to pass into the yellow light. So we need to bring some more energy into the body to then go into that green light as well. So a really good breathing technique to help you shift your nervous system from freeze to start to move through that hierarchy is what we call the VU breath. So the VU breath was devised by Dr. Peter Levine, who founded something called somatic experiencing, of which I am trained in. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. And the VU breath is a very specific breathing technique that utilizes our breath and sound to kind of bring some energy back into the body. Now, it's a strange sound, granted, and you may listen to this and think, Caroline, that sounds a bit odd, but it works. So if you feel like you're drifting, you're numbing out, you're feeling like you're not present, try the VU breath. And not just for you, this is great for kids, teenagers, your family members, your community, in your workplace. The VU breath is really, really great. So what we need to do is we need to inhale through our nose, and then on the exhale, we're just going to open our mouth enough till we hit some resistance, and then we're going to make a VU sound. So we're going to use VOO, the VU sound, and really bring it so it sounds like a foghorn. And we want almost the sound to really permeate and resonate all the way through our body. And how the VU breath works is that vibration that we feel sends messages in our gut, which is what we call neuroception, to stay, well, hold on, I can hear this and feel this. I'm in the present moment. I must be safe. And we start to bring a little bit of energy back into the body because our body and brain starts to realize we're here, we're now, we're present, we're okay. And it just starts to shift us from that freeze state in our nervous system. So I'm going to do it with you. And again, you might want to listen and then pause and have a go. And when you do this, just make yourself comfortable. You can do it sitting, lying down. What you can do is do it in private or get people involved to do this with you as well. But do at least 5. I would say always do at least 5 of these. Check in, see if you can notice a difference, and then maybe do another 5, just till you start to feel a little bit more energy coming back into your body and a little bit more awareness and presence to where you are in the moment. I am safe, I am here, I'm okay, I'm present. So I'm going to do 3 so you can hear what it sounds like. And keep going as long as you can go with that exhale, because if lengthening that exhale, we're telling our body we're safe, because if we were in danger, we'd be breathing like that. So let's do another couple. Now, I know I probably look ridiculous and I know it probably sounds ridiculous, but it works. You know, I want to give you tools so that they can go into your toolkit to help you regulate your emotions. And this is a really good symptom manager of when you can bring awareness to the fact you are stuck in a freeze response. You know, when I work with my clients, I know I need to go through that hierarchy of that nervous system to help them get back into that green light. So if I know they're stuck in freeze, we will often start sessions doing some VU breath. We want to bring a bit of activation. We want to bring a bit of energy into the body so that we can start to resolve any issues and start to move through and pass through that nervous system and have completion of survival responses. So we need to bring that energy back into the body. And the VU breath is a really great example of doing that. Get your kids doing it. You know, we think of those well-behaved children at the back of the classroom. Are they well-behaved or are they stuck in a freeze response? You know, that could be you in a group of your friends or your family. And everything looks like you are there because you are physically there, but actually presently there, yeah, that's not the same. I know for me, when I used to do my child handovers with my ex who was a covert narcissist, I'd literally come out and then I would shake and then I would suppress all of that and go into a freeze response. I didn't realize actually shaking was my body's way of discharging and expressing that sympathetic energy. I thought I was crazy. I thought there was something wrong with me. So I suppressed it back down, boom, back into the freeze response then as well. So wherever you are, just check in. And the green light and the red light can look very, very similar sometimes. But a really great way to check in with that is, you know, do you feel present? Are you totally aware? Can you notice what's around you? The colors, the smells, the sounds? Do you feel really present? Or do you feel disconnected? You know, dissociation can come in many formats. It can feel like you are disconnected from your body, but you're still in your body, but you're not feeling anything, you've just numbed out. Sometimes dissociation can be you're having an out-of-body experience. It's like you're watching yourself live your life, but it's not you as such because you're watching everything. So different elements. So just kind of check in to see how you feel. It's really common. I feel like probably 90% of the clients that come and see me look like great citizens, look like they've got their stuff together externally, but they are stuck in this freeze response, having moments of explosive anger, suppressing that down for fear of judgment, and they're stuck in the red. And this is then when they start to wonder why they start to get chronic illnesses, IBS, you know, eczema, psoriasis, you know, autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, because we are suppressing all of this energy into our body as opposed to giving space to feel, to express, to bring some energy back in, and then to discharge that and have completion of these survival responses. So I hope that's really, really helped you on this episode, that if you're stuck in freeze, and let me know, you know, can you relate to that? Because very often I didn't think I was in freeze. I thought I was still living my life and everything else because I was functioning and doing all my business, but I was stuck in freeze. I was in functional freeze. And I see a lot of people, I can tell immediately if someone is stuck in functional freeze at the moment I meet them, because I can see what their body language is like, and there's lots of different ways that you can start to recognize that. So let me know, drop me a message, you know, on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me know if you do the VU breath. How is it? I know it sounds silly and you might think, oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. But if you bring the VU breath into your life and you start to do that every single day, morning and evening, maybe after you've cleaned your teeth, put it into your routine, habit stack it. Start to notice how you start to feel a little bit more energy in your nervous system, and it might feel a little bit alien to start off with. But if we want to really heal and really start to move forward and step into our greatness, because it's all within us, then we've got to shift from freeze. So take care, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you on the next episode on Trauma and Narcissism Redefined.